from the 704 once again for episode 82 of the 815 Exchange. And well. You know, I initially, before Saturday started, I was like, I wonder what I'm going to talk about this week, you know? I was like, I wonder what I'm going to be able to talk about this week. You know, probably just the usuals. Nothing crazy is going to happen though, right? You know, it's just going to probably be a chill, maybe a little bit shorter episode. But no. Then Saturday happened. And I mean, I have never, and I mean ever in my life, ever seen what transpired. And I'm not sure if it's ever happened in college basketball history. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but I think, and I don't even think I put them in my notes, but number 6 lost too. Yeah. No, I did. The top 6 teams in the AP poll all took a L on Saturday. It was ridiculous. It was the week of upsets. We had some madness going on in soccer as well. And of course, we'll talk about Euphoria and Attack on Titan. We had some pretty good episodes, if I say so myself. But before we get to that, of course, as always, timestamps. If you do want to skip ahead to all that good stuff I was talking about, entertainment, Donda 2, you know, college basketball, you just want to hear me talk about the NBA, whatever it is, timestamps included in the description, including my social medias, as always. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. And yeah, like I said, everything you need to find is in the description. And yeah, the support is much appreciated. But before I get to college basketball, I have to tease you a little bit, alright? I have to tease you, alright, before we get to college basketball. So we're going to start off with what we usually start off with on a normal basis. And instead of just naming it Champions League, we're going to just name it soccer. Alright, we're just going to call it soccer this week because more than what happened in Champions League happened. But we have the end of the leg 1 of the round 16. Of course, leg 2 is this week. Should be very interesting tomorrow and Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow and Wednesday. To kick it off, we had Juventus take on Villarreal in Villarreal 1-1. Alright, Dusan Vlahovic has been a monster. Alright, he has been a monster the past year, and yeah, it's continued. That form, it's continued over to Juventus. He scored in the first minute of this game, which is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. It's the fastest score by debuting in Champions League history. Yeah, Vlahovic, goal, you know how this goes. But on the bad source of news for Juventus, Weston McKennie did get injured. Unfortunately, the American midfielder has been great for them this year. Out, what is it? They said 4 to 5 weeks, or 3 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere around that 4-week mark, about a month, with no Weston McKennie. So that's going to be very tough for Juventus going forward, and seeing how they want to deal with this Villarreal team, who's already, you know, drew 1-1, which means, again, there are no away goals. There's no away goal rule, which I feel a little bit, you know, about, but it's cool. It's whatever. So this second leg is for all the marbles, right? It's not like, all right, UV or Villarreal have that, you know, advantage. Draw, which means everything's up for grabs in game 2. It's a winner takes all, so we'll see what happens there. But UV, Villarreal, draw. Chelsea, and we'll be talking about Chelsea a little bit later on in this segment. Chelsea gets the win over Lille 2-0. In the battle of the Americans, Tim Way, of course, and Christian Pulisic. Pulley, who's slowly but surely getting back into form, getting back to the Pulisic we know and love, even though I talk about the Carabao Cup. Not that he really played bad, but nonetheless, Chelsea handled business in the Champions League. 2-0 gets the win over Lille. Kai Havertz seems to score in these big moments, it seems, except for on Saturday. But like I said, we'll talk about it. Kai Havertz, Pulisic, both get on the score sheet. They get it done. And the young Blues midfielders both get it done, even though I guess Pulisic's more of a wing. At least that's where they should be playing him, nonetheless. Benfica and Ajax, again, Sebastian Haller is leading the Champions League, I believe, in goals. And he also got an own goal in this game, all right? Benfica and Ajax draw 2-2, which means, like I said, for the Juventus for the Real game, winner takes all in leg 2. But Haller can't stop scoring, even on his own team, but can't stop scoring. Dusan Tadic, also a phenomenal midfielder for Ajax, got on the score sheet. But Benfica able to get, 2 back. So, really able to get 1 back as Haller scored. But Nonetheless, winner takes all in leg 2, but leg 1, 2-2. And to round up this week in the Champions League, Atletico and Manchester United. Now, Manchester United's been in the headlines for all of the wrong reasons, whether it's been the bad form, whether it's Ronaldo looking actually human, whether it's Mason Greenwood, or the, as we're calling him, the boy who should not be named. Whatever it is, it's not been great for Man U, but Elanga, at the end there, saves Manchester United from defeat and will send it once again into a sudden death, essentially, leg 2. As they draw with Atletico, João Felix has had moments where he looks like the prodigal Portuguese son that he was hyped up to be. He's had moments of that brilliance. Just needs to get it going on a consistent basis, but he scores in this game. And like I said, Elanga scores late, the youngster from Manchester United, keeps them alive. Honestly, though, they're playing Atletico. There would be no more fitting time for Ronaldo to recover his form than against Atletico in leg 2 in 2 weeks. There's literally no more ideal situation and nothing more poetic, nothing more consistent with the timeline than for CR7 to do CR7 things in leg 2. But we'll see what happens there. And of course, like I said, I had to mention the Carabao Cup was in fact this week. Of course, listen, okay, that was one of the more exciting 0-0 games, I'll say. We'll say that. We'll give that credit, right? It was one of the more exciting, I guess, if we're going to have a 0-0 game. That was one of the more. I went to the gym at the 70th minute when I was watching, right? I came back in time to watch the end of the penalty shootout. That's how long this game was. That's how long it went. Because we went to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, but 11 penalties. We got to the goalkeepers. And there wasn't a single save in the penalty shootout because, unfortunately, Kappa, who was brought in purely for the penalty shootout, skies it. I mean, it was a horrific miss. It looked like, I don't even think he'd have made a field goal from that range, all right? It was bad, okay? It was bad, all right? I'm not going to say it. It was bad, okay? It was bad. Kepa missed horribly. And on the other side, Keller, great. I mean, the youngster, 23-year-old goalkeeper, right? Not the usual goalkeeper for Liverpool, but stepped up here in the cup final. And, made the penalty when it mattered. Doesn't matter that he did not save a single penalty. It doesn't matter. They got the win. He made the saves during regular time. Eduardo Mendy looking like possibly the best goalkeeper on the planet. He played phenomenal. It's a shame. It's a shame that his performance got wasted like that because Kappa, who's supposed to be the penalty specialist, couldn't get it done. Almost makes you wonder if you'd have left Mendy in there, maybe he would have saved you and y'all won this nonetheless. But yeah, it's a tough loss for Chelsea. There were so many missed opportunities though, man. So many missed opportunities. Havertz and Mount got to finish. Have to finish over those opportunities that Pulisic helped generate. Of course, Pulisic had the early one, but I wouldn't really fault him. I felt like that was kind of more of Keller, but come on. Oh my goodness, Havertz and Mount could have put that game away. And of course, we had the callbacks on even Matip for Liverpool. They had their own misses and callbacks. Mo Salah has to. For him to be the guy, for some people in England were claiming to be the best player in the world, he has to make that. He has to make that chip and finish that one-on-one if you're supposed to be the guy. But he was unable to. Matip got the call back. Lukaku had some call back. It was just a tough game, but Liverpool takes the Carabao Cup. And speaking of the best player in the world, let's talk about the guy I think is the best player in the world. Kylian Mbappe was in fine form this week for PSG against Saint Etienne. They got the win 3-1. Messi getting back to form. He had 2 assists, both on the Mbappe goals, but my lord. Kylian Mbappe is on a different plane of existence right now, okay? We can have this discussion. I might. We'll see. Have this discussion of who do you guys think is the best player in the world. For my bargain, it's KM7, all right? Because the dude he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. We talked about this last week, but I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's beyond ridiculous, okay? He's dominant. All right, 2 goals and an assist against Saint Etienne, including that assist was disgusting. Ridiculous. He's been ridiculous this entire year. So yeah, shout out to Mbappe, they get the win. Shout out to PSG. Shout out to Messi for getting back and forth. But that was soccer. Now to move on, as I promised, to the madhouse that was college basketball this week. All right, if you were watching this and your team was doing well this year, like top 6 well, not a good week for you. Not a good week for you. But for a lot of other teams, it was a fantastic week. There were plenty of court storming going on in college basketball this week. And we're just going to go, we're not going to go chronologically, but we're going to go by ranking as of, now and not a couple hours when the new poll drops. Gonzaga, number 1. Gets taken down by their chieftain rivals in the WCC, as it's been for quite some time. They're pretty clearly the 2 best teams in that conference. St. Mary's takes out Gonzaga 67-57. The key, they got Chet in foul trouble. Defense is key throughout all of these wins. That would seem to be something reoccurring. A lot of the time, they had the other team shooting 30%, 20% from the field. But the key in this game in particular, they got Chet Holmgren, who had been dominated. He has been running through conference play. Running. He got back to my number 1 prospect, or at least tied with Jabari. Chet was running through the conference. They got him in foul trouble early, and they got him in foul trouble often, and they kept him off the floor. They kept Chet off the floor and kept him from doing what he normally does defensively and causing havoc in the post. And that also kept him off of the, offensive side of the ball. Couldn't let him take that part of the game over, and they did a great job there. Also kept Drew Timme in check. Tommy Kuhse led him 14-6 and 4 for Kuhse. But my. St. Mary's, huge win. Not going to be enough for the regular season title, but that's a big win going into March, which starts, of course, tomorrow. And we know that's the most wonderful time of the year for college basketball because it's going to get very, very, very mad. But we got a nice little teaser this week, and Gonzaga goes down and shout to St. Mary's. Number 2, Arizona. They took the L to Colorado, 79-63. This Arizona team had been the big surprise of the college basketball world. Nobody really saw them reaching the heights that they had this year so far. It all came tumbling down against Colorado and Tristan da Silva, who had 19 points in this game, also aided by Walker, 16-14 for him. Arizona, it was the Colorado's defense suffocated them. All right, they couldn't hit the side of a barn. So for lack of they could not hit the side of a barn. It was bad. But then non-existent. All the rest of that, it was a nightmarish game for Arizona, and probably the most painful game they've had this year, probably as a Wildcat fan, because Colorado had them in a vice grip and did not let go, and they went and they pulled off the upset, knocked down the number 2 team in the country. That Arizona team looked like who we thought they were before the season and not who they became during the season. We'll see if they can recover. Speaking of teams that need recovery, let's talk about Auburn, number 3. They're in trouble. All right, Auburn is in a lot of trouble, okay? How many straight weeks have I talked about Auburn? And it's not been in a positive light in quite some time. Maybe talking about Walker Kessler because he had the triple-double against Texas A&M a couple episodes ago. But besides that, no. It has been a rough February for the Auburn Tigers, as that number 1 spot they once claimed is falling. It's just falling. I'm not saying they're in free fall because they're getting wins in there, but they cannot go a week, it seems, without taking an L, and that's not what you want as a top-tier team, that you want to be peaking as you get to March, and it seems like they're not. Almost regressing a little bit. Tennessee takes them out. Vescovi, Vez, we've talked about him multiple times. Santiago, 14 points for him and 5 boards. Kennedy Chandler had 13 and was great point guard play from Kennedy, one of the best point guards, one of the best freshmen in the country. Jabari Smith. All right, listen, Bari's going to do Bari. He had 27 and 8. I'm not going to lie to you. He was the best player on the court, as he is seemingly every time he hops on the court. All right? Bari dominated. He did what he does. He did his job. Unfortunately, yet again, and it's going to be the Achilles heel, it seems, for this Auburn team. If you want to beat the Auburn Tigers, but listen, Barry's going to do what he does. Maybe even Walker Kessler is going to do what Walker Kessler does, even though Tennessee kept him in check here. Get the ball into Wendell Green's hand, because he's going to give you the game. Like Santa Claus at Christmas, he's going to gift wrap you right down the chimney this game. Wendell Green, besides that one stunning moment he had against, what was it? Was it Bama? Or was it Arkansas? No, I think it was against Bama early on in the season. Besides that one shining moment of clutchness, he's been the worst player on this Auburn team, bar not even close. He has been such a detriment to this team, especially in the clutch time, right? He's the anti-clutch, right? If Barry's the guy, he's the opposite. He's completely not. But for some reason, Wendell Green loves to put the ball in his own hands in these big moments, despite being, I don't know, the number 4 or 5 option on that team, and certainly the number 4 or 5, maybe 6 best player on that team in terms of talent. The ball should be in Jabari Smith's hands, and if it's not in Barry's hands, it should be in Walker's hands. And one day Auburn's going to figure that out, but they better figure it out soon, because it's not been a good past couple of weeks for them. Tennessee pulls off the stunner. Shout out to the Vols. And to end this off, quickly, before I run out of time for the video, and I have to continue the segment for the second part, Michigan State and Purdue. It came down to it. Tyson Walker off the bench playing in crunch time. He's made big shots before, and this was no different. All right, this was no different. I was watching this game on my phone in the gym, going back and forth, constantly checking the score. Because I was like, yo, Michigan State been leading this game for a minute. And, yeah, they did not let go of that lead. Purdue fought back valiantly, but it wasn't to be. Walker hits the go-ahead 3, and then we had a series of god-awful inbound plays. But nonetheless, Michigan State and Sparty survived 68-65 and are able to pull the upset against number 4, Purdue. Zach Edney had 25 and 4. I mean, he had 25. And you can't really ask much more for the 7'4" big man. He had a great game. Jaden Ivey didn't. I mean, he had an alright game. No, he didn't have a Jaden Ivey game. But for his standards, it wasn't, I guess, a great game. But, I mean, he had like 16. It wasn't that bad. But the rest of that team was basically non-existent. And Michigan State had 4 players in double figures. They played the team game. They stayed tough. They rallied. They held on. They survived the storm of Purdue fighting back in this game, and yeah, just a very, very good win at home for Sparty. Very well done. Tyson Walker, ice in his veins. Number 5, Kansas. We'll get to Kentucky, but Kansas. Number 5, Kansas. They had the hardest matchup of the week. They had another top 10 team in Baylor. So luckily that meant the entire top 10 team could all take an L. Also, we'll talk about another top 10 team that won. But Baylor, Kansas, listen, Kansas had the toughest matchup, but doesn't matter. You still took the L. 80-70, Baylor pulls off the upset against Kansas, and well, Flo Damba, all right? Flo Damba. The Flo Damba career game happened. 18 points and 9 rebounds for Damba. He was huge. He was absolutely huge in this game. Both sides of the ball. Played some great defense, but also was big-time scoring. Made the right plays when they needed to be made. Classic Baylor star, right? Again, I repeat, not saying that Thamba is the guy, okay? Because I think that's going to be an issue for this Baylor team, not having a guy like Jared Butler or Davion Mitchell, as I've mentioned before on this show. But it looked better against a really, really, really good team. I mean, Ochai Agbaji, one of the best players in the country, had 27. Christian Braun had 17 and 10. But Baylor came together as a team, as they did in March last year. It wasn't all about the stars last year. It was about that entire team as a whole. And this Baylor team came together in this game. Huge, massive. Needed to win this game against Kansas. Needed to get their ends back, and they did. Right? Came together as a team. SoCam with 17 off the bench. They rallied. They stayed prevalent, they persevered, and they were able to get the win against Kansas 80-70. Very good job by Scott Drew and co. They answered the challenge. They answered the bell. I've been waiting for this Baylor team to answer the bell after they rose to the top early on and were the number 1 team in the country at one point in time, and then had that fall off. I've been waiting for them to answer the bell and become a team that's worthy of being labeled a contender. This was a massive, massive step in answering the bell, because they answered the bell against one of the best teams in the country. So shout out to Baylor. And now number 6, Kentucky. Kentucky's been riding high. In fact, a lot of Wildcat fans had come around to the idea of them being national championship contenders, believing that they may be the favorites potentially. That all came crashing down as Arkansas came to play. Arkansas came to play yet again. And it's a story we've heard before this year. You know, when they did it to Auburn, you know, what was that, 3 weeks ago? And they did it to Kentucky. All right, they went and they did it to Kentucky. Arky gets the win 75-73. J.D. Notae was the man. 30 ball for Notae with 8 assists. I mean, it was the J.D. Notae game. All right, it was the J.D. Notae show. Dominant performance. Led that Arkansas team. Was able to get it done. On the other hand, for Kentucky, it wasn't all bad. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe was dominant. The National Player of the Year contender had 30 and 18. 30 and 18. Now, don't get me wrong. Listen, Oscar is a phenomenal player, and we can talk about his NBA draft prospects, right? I think he has a position. I think he has a role to play in the NBA. Anybody with that type of rebounding ability has a chance to play in the NBA, right? Because that's going to translate. His offensive game, of course, needs work and some of the other stuff. His defense is pretty good, though. But he's a little undersized, I guess, so to speak, in terms of height for like a big man. But, you know, we play a little bit of small ball. I don't think it's all bad. But, yeah, Tshiebwe dominant, 30-18. Arguably the best big man in the country. Certainly the best rebounder. But, like I said, J.D. Notae and that Arkansas team came to play. Showed no fear against that Kentucky team and were able to get the done in a close win, 75-73. Shout out to the Razorbacks. They've made so many big wins. So many big wins. It makes me very interested to see what they can do in March. As I feel like they could be a proper tier. They could be an agent of chaos potentially on the higher end stake. You know, they're already a good team, highly regarded. You know, they're probably going to be a top 5 in terms of 5 and above seed. So. Shouldn't be all bad. I mean, they're a little bit dangerous, though. I think they're a little bit dangerous. 7. But 7 didn't lose, all right? I wanted to talk about 7 because, dude, we won, all right? We look very good, all right? In our last trip to the Carrier Dome, we had some very memorable games against Syracuse. It wasn't to be. Finally, a top 10 team won. Finally, the streak is broken and it's by us. I hope we don't become the number 1 team in the country in a couple hours or minutes, depending on when I'm recording this and what time it is. But yeah, Duke 97-72 over Syracuse. One of our best games of the season. Mark Williams had 28 and 12. Paulo had 21 and 9 assists. AJ Griffin had 20. I think we started this game off. It was like 30-something single digits. We shot off. We were nuclear hot. Nuclear. That's a little bit in bad taste, I apologize. But we were nuclear, okay? We were shooting the lights out. 60% from the field, over 50% from the 3. It was disgusting, all right? Actually, I think it was higher than that. I think we were like 8 for 9 from 3 or something ridiculous, okay? We were scorching hot. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the scoreline for the first quarter of this game. I thought it was like a women's game. I had a similar reaction when I saw Louisville beating the brakes off of Notre Dame's women's basketball team, okay? We were annihilating Syracuse. It was very satisfying. We needed a game like this. At our peak, when we play like this, we're the best team in the country. However, we don't always play like this, and that's a problem. However, if we do want to get closer to this form in March, I won't complain, and maybe, just maybe, I'll rescind that statement about us being a first weekend exit upset type top-ranked team. But for now, I'm just satisfied. I'm happy. Let's win the ACC tournament. And first off, before we do that, we got a special game on Saturday, as it's Coach K's last game at Cameron, and we happen to be facing that team from Chapel Hill. No mercy this time. All right, no mercy. I want no mercy. With all due disrespect, no mercy at all for them. But that was a wild week in college basketball. Next up, we have entertainment. And well, You know what? I'll give him credit. He, technically speaking, sort of dropped. He sort of, kind of. If we're talking about Kanye here, so this is basically on time for him, right? This is basically on time for him. He dropped it, technically speaking, the next day in full, but there were some songs that were up and he had the performance on the 22nd. So fair enough. Alright, fair enough, yay. Alright, I won't fault you for that. But I will fault you for once again putting out an unfinished album. Now, I've listened to bits and pieces of Donda too, so I won't be doing an album rating. Alright, we're not doing an album rating because once again, it's gonna be another month before this album is even finished, okay? And I didn't buy the stem player. If you bought the stem player, I hope you have disposable income. Alright, if you wasted your money buying that, that's on you. But if you have disposable income and you wasted your money buying that, that's perfectly fine. Do what you want to. There were some standouts, like the Future track, that didn't sound too bad. But I also heard some stuff that was like, okay. It was like, alright. But like I said, this album won't be finished for another month. And I've heard various reviews from the people I've listened to it in full, from wow, this was amazing, to wow, this is hot garbage, yay is washed. So I don't really know. So I'm going to hold off my opinion until I actually get the album in full. Because I don't know. I don't know. It's about what I expected though, right? It's about what I expected. If you actually did expect him to actually drop the actual version of this album, the final version of this album, on the 22nd, welcome to your very first Kanye West album. Or at least in the modern times. More important stuff to attend to, however, than what's going on in music, even though it was a pretty quiet week, I guess, so to speak, in music. TV. Peaky Blinders is back, so that's lit. I gotta watch that on Netflix. Also, Love Is Blind. I'm also watching Succession. I'm also supposed to be watching Baki. I got too much to. I got too much. All right, spring break is next week, so maybe I can catch up. I don't know if I'm going anywhere, so I might just be going home and I can just catch up and chill. But I also got a project in spring break. But that's not important. We're talking about entertainment right now, right? Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan. We got 3 episodes to go, and they're not going to finish this. If you were wondering if they're going to finish this story in 3 episodes, it's not going to happen, all right? Don't even worry about it. It's 3 or 4 episodes left. But anyways, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. There's going to be another season, or it's going to be a movie. That's the truth. But the 104th. For this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen, it was a very good episode because, ladies and gentlemen, 104th Cadet Class is back. It's back, and we had like an Avengers. We had an Avengers, the first one, type meetup as the 104th finally reunited. Mikasa and Louise. I saw a lot of people a little bit uneasy about that relationship, but I think it's supposed to be a parallel of kind of Mikasa's kind of obsession with Eren and almost one-sided love for Eren. I can't spoil anything though. I'm not going to say too much more than that. I'll say watch. Alright, I can't say anything. I wanted to spoil it, but y'all see what happens with Mikasa and Eren and what happens there, and what terms of the relationship. But yeah, kind of nice to see that. But overall, Annie moving like Sasha. You know, Annie like moving to Sasha, like that callback of her liking sweets. The crew meets up with her eating the pie. Rainier got a little bit of sleep and woke up to 4 people that were trying to kill him. Levi's back, alright? Levi, he's back. He's up good. He was speaking again. His face is, his poor, beautiful face is mangled. But he's back. I wonder if he still wants to smoke though, because it's Levi Ackerman, man. It's Levi Ackerman, alright? He is going to die. And even when he dies, he's going to be in the past or wherever they go in Attack on Titan in the afterlife, and he is still going to want the smoke with Zeke Yeager till the end of time. All right, till the end of time, the Beyblade versus Monkey Boy, it's going to happen. All right, till the end of time, they will fight forever. But yeah, what else happened? Connie redemption arc. He almost sent Falco out. I mean, he was very, very close. But Armin looking like Irwin. I did what needed to be done. Knew his friends. And yeah, put his life in danger. Knew Connie was going to save him. Connie saves him. And yeah, shout out to Armin. Showing some leadership qualities. This is a good episode for Armin. Connie gets back, Gabby and Falco reunited, and yeah, the crew is back, man. We loving the crew right now. We loving the crew for real. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But that was a very good episode of Attack on Titan. Euphoria. Euphoria, Euphoria, Euphoria. You know, Euphoria for me it's always been a good show. It's always been a good show, but yesterday it went from a good show to being a great show and a potential all-time great show, and I don't use that very lightly. Spoiler alert, of course, as you know, with this. That season finale delivered for me. I know a lot of people are upset because they're like, oh, Sam, you're not going to live another day because of who died and because Dominic Fike basically got some promotion with a 4-minute song in the middle of the episode, which it was like, okay, whatever. You could have made it a little bit shorter, whatever. I didn't really care. It kind of served its purpose as a little bit of a break between, you know, the madness of the episode. And also, they tried to say, which I tweeted this out, right? Listen, if you think Nate had a happy ending from this episode, you are just as high, I'll probably pop it up right here, you were just as high as Rue was the first 6 episodes of this season, alright? Nate by no means had a happy ending. He sent his father to jail. How is that happy? Sure, his father has traumatized him and abused him and all this stuff, right? So it should be a moment of relief. And I'm sure it is a moment of relief. But that's still his father, alright? Nate can't have a happy ending. It's what some people don't seem to understand, right? Nothing positive of this happens for Nate, right? Sure, this is a little bit of relief, but you saw his face. He's miserable. He's miserable. You have to send your father away who's abused you and put you up. Okay? You get to go home to your deadbeat brother and your mother who's an alcoholic. How's that a win? And then at school you got to deal with Maddie Cat. How is that a win? He's just as down bad as everybody else is on this show. But nonetheless, let's talk about what happened. Of course, the play ended. But the big news was the stuff that happened outside of the play, as unfortunately, some of us saw coming, but it still hurt, and I cried, and I don't cry a lot for entertainment. Ash died, alright? Ashtray died. He was a kid. He was a kid. Just like Fez was saying. I mean, and shout out to Angus Cloud, shout out to Javon, because they acted the hell. How many times are we going to say that about this show, by the way? That these actors just acted the hell out of the moment. Anyways, I mean, he acted his life out. Showing the pain of Fez in that moment, of what was just one of the saddest moments in the show. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, that's the thing. Those moments, and then, the flashback to Rue, and we finally get to see her, eulogy at her father's funeral, and just that whole conversation, that whole period is where the show turned for me, right? Into like, okay, this is on another level. Because despite all of the hype of this super attractive cast, and the nudity, and the drugs, and all of the hype you hear about Euphoria, and the extravagance, right, of the things, and the craziness that happens, right? Through all of that hype, the thing that separates Euphoria from other shows is the fact that this all has consequences. We can go from, it's kind of like a high. It's like Euphoria. We can go from the euphoria of the highs and the craziness and the madness, right, of the show, but then we always come down, and there's always consequences. There's always something that grounds us, something that makes you feel something. Something that grounds us, right? There's consequences to everything. Unfortunately, this was always going to happen. I know a lot of people are upset at Ash, which means he did his job. The fact that people are reacting like this says that Sam Levinson did his job as a writer. He made you feel something. He made you feel that pain of seeing a character as beloved as Ash die. Because that's realistic, right? Because of the life that Fez and Ash lived, right? And the fact that, Ash is not as calculated, right? He's not as emotionally intelligent as Fez because of how he was raised, right? He would do something as impulsive. As great as he's been, That was completely in character for Ash. So I don't get the claims that was out of character. Because that was completely in character. Of course he would do that. And then he would do anything to protect his brother because that's who he loves. That's all he's ever had in his life. Of course he was not going to let. Even though I hated it and I wish Ash would have just complied and listened to Fez, right? Because he had a lot of potential to do something to have a better life than the one he lived. But of course Ash would go out like that. And of course a kid, just two kids, because Fez's not even that old, going through an operation like this, there's going to be consequences, right? Rue going through her addiction and everything we saw her go through this season, alienating everybody, had its consequences. Cassie fucking over Maddie, right? And screwing Nate and everything that happened there resulted in that fight, resulted in that friendship being severed, right? Resulted in Cassie getting her ass whooped, which was very, very pleasing. Thank you for delivering on that. That all delivered, right? There were consequences to all of those actions. As bombastic at the moment they were. Jules and Rue, even Jules and Rue, right? The highs of their relationship, but they were a toxic relationship. At the end of the day, they were toxic. And they weren't good for each other. And unfortunately, that came to an end. Everything on Euphoria, as great as the moments were, right, had consequences. Had realistic consequences. Not every show is just going to be happiness, and Euphoria is not meant to be the show of, Rue gets clean and Maddie and Cassie make up and Ash and Fez, they get out, right? They eventually get out, and Ash goes down to college or whatever, they get filthy rich, and Fez gets to marry Lexi and they live happily ever after. That's not what Euphoria is, because that's not realistic, and that's not what happens in real life, and that's not what the story that's being told is supposed to be about, right? It's not supposed to be all happiness and everything works out, right? The way that we as the audience want to work out for them. Because we enjoy them as characters. We enjoy them as whatever. Unfortunately, that's a fantasy. And in Euphoria, this is what happens. They're coming off the high and it sucks. And that definitely got to me. Shout out to Ethan, though he was phenomenal on the lighter side. On the better side of things, Susie was great. The mother, Ethan, like I said, he killed it the whole play. I'm glad he got his rec. Seeing Rue and Lexi make up was huge, and I think that's going to be big, especially dealing with what happened to Ash and kind of what's going on with Fez going into the next season in 2 years, or whenever they want to release that. That'll be good. That'll be good. It'll be good to see, what happens with Nate, Cassie, and Maddie. See what happens with Kat, even though a lot of people are unsatisfied with her amount of screen time, which I get, but it was always going to be tough because it's an ensemble type show. And I guess it's more so, it's Rue's show because she's the protagonist, right? She's the storyteller. She's the narrator. So it's more her show, but it's still an ensemble show, so it's hard to, kind of let everybody eat on a level playing field. Though I wish I could have seen more about Kat. Even though we got the general gist, I think, of course, we could have got a little bit more detail, but I'm not too upset about that. I'm sure we'll figure out, we'll see more about, what's going on there in season 3, but season 2 was great for me. This last episode delivered on all facets, and what a show, man. What a show Euphoria is. It definitely went to that next level for me, but that was entertaining. The NBA, nothing too crazy, all right? Nothing too crazy this week in the NBA. Post All-Star break, relatively quiet. We will say, though, Philly played New York yesterday. They got the win 125-109. But what I really wanted to talk about was Harden and Embiid have gelled together immediately. Literally immediately, okay? In this game, Harden had 29, 10, and 16. Joel had 37 and 9. In the game before this, in their first game together, Embiid had 34 and 10. And Harden had 27, 8, and 12. Any more questions? Was anybody else, any more questions about whether this was going to work? All right, we told you it was going to work. It's working even better than I thought it was going to work because Harden's basically averaging a triple-double and Joel Embiid is still looking like the MVP. All right, This is the best duo in the league. All right, I'm going to say it. They are the best duo in the league. Better than AD can't stay healthy, so the Lakers are disqualified and they suck. All right, better than KD and Kyrie. Kyrie barely plays anyway. And honestly, KD barely plays anyway as well. Better than them. All right, better than, I don't know, the Celtics. I don't know who other duos. Clay and Curry, better than them. This is the best duo in the league. Hands down. Hands down. All right, and this is going to make things very, very interesting in the Eastern Conference. Tyrese Maxey stepping up. We know what Thibault is. Even though they lost some depth, it might work out. It might work out. Sixers looking very, very good. Embiid and Harden gel together immediately. AD, like I said, hurt again. No surprise, he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. Street clothes, is that what Chuck calls them now? I don't know. I don't know what AD, when he plays, he's a great player, one of the best players in the league, but can't stay healthy to save his life. John Moran, Starboy, got the Grizzlies at 3rd in the West, and he's one of the biggest box office draws in the league. He had 46 against the Bulls on the road. That 360 leg was crazy, but yeah. Ja has emerged as one of the best point guards in the league this year, and it's not a good look for Zion. It's not a good look for Zion, Even though he's hurt, he's dealing with that. And we know what type of player Zion is when he's healthy. Just him being out this long and everything's going on with him and the Pelicans, it's not a good look, especially with Ja playing the way he is with Memphis. But, yeah, we'll see. Especially since this Pelicans team has been way better since they got McCollum. This is the perfect time, right? You got McCollum, you got Ingram. If they had Zion healthy, this Pelicans team could be dangerous. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. And the Roundup is kicked off by UFC. Now, of course, we got a big fight, big fight this weekend between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what happened this week. UFC Fight Night. Islam Makhachev, of course, he was supposed to take on Beneil Dariush, which would have been a phenomenal fight, but instead Bobby Green stepped up as Beneil had a withdrawal. And Islam ran through him. He ran through him. It looked like a ranked fighter that's, on the cusp of number 1 contendership against an unranked fighter, which is what it was. Yeah, it was complete annihilation. Islam, it was never in question. Round 1, Islam runs through Bobby. Shout out to Bobby for accepting, but it was always going to end like this. Hopefully they can reschedule that, Islam versus Beneil. If he takes out Beneil, he needs to be number 1 contender. He could be number 1 contender now, but I want to see him beat somebody in the top 5. But shout out to Islam, shout out to Beeb. Dagestani is different. Kyle Larson, of course, the reigning champ in NASCAR, back to winning ways nearly immediately. After, a little bit of heartbreak at the Daytona 500, crashing out, he wins at Cali, gets it done, and yeah, he won, double-digit races last year? He's already on pace yet again, gets his first, which of course clinches him probably for the chase. Not that Kyle Larson wasn't making the chase anyway, but Larson wins at Cali. Keeping with the C's, we got Caitlin Clark of Iowa. Took on Michigan really for the Big Ten regular season title, and well, she's the most exciting player in college basketball, male or female. She's also the best women's college basketball player on the planet right now. Of course, Paige just came back, and we'll see what happens there. Of course, they're the 2 best players in the country by consideration. But this year, it shouldn't be a question. National Player of the Year is Caitlin Clark. She's averaging 27, 8, and 8. And she had 38, 6, and 11, and continues to pull up from any fucking where. It looks like Curry. It's like a female Curry. It's ridiculous. 38, 6, and 11 against the number 6 team in the country, and Naz Hillman, who had 18 and 15 herself. But Iowa clinches the regular season title, 104-80. Had a shout out to the ladies. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. Watch Iowa. If you don't enjoy women's basketball, she will change your mind. I guarantee it. Caitlin Clark, different. NFL Combine is this week, which means it's about the time for me to, make my NFL draft episode, and we talk about that, which we'll see probably in a month or 2, maybe in a month, probably in March. I'll probably do it sometime in March. But yeah, NFL Combine this week. I expect Malik Willis to test out of his mind and become QB1 and eventually get some GM fired. But yeah, that's that. And that was episode 82. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys have a great week. Spring break next week, which means we'll probably likely be live from the 3-3-6 yet again. At least for a week. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. Ocho, signing off.